Hey guys, good afternoon this time. Today I just wanted to pick up where I left off from yesterday. I mentioned the book that I had read called Hinds Feet in High Places and how God had ministered to me through that book. And when I finished reading it, I actually wanted to share what God had just done in my life with somebody else, and I couldn't find anybody because everybody was working or tied up or whatever. So I wanted to capture the moment, so I actually made a video after I finished that book. And when I recorded it, I didn't expect anybody to ever see the video, but I watched it yesterday, and there's nothing too personal in it that can't be shared, and it shows more in detail what God did in my life through that book. And so I just want to, this is an introduction to that video, and then I'll share a little bit afterwards. Anyway, so I'm reading the book Hinds Feet in High Places, and it's the journey of Much Afraid. Her name is Much Afraid, through all the different trials of her life. And he invited her to go on the journey to the high places with the promise that when she got there, that her crooked feet would be healed, her crooked mouth would be healed, and that she would be loved in return. And he planted a seed of love in her heart. It was the shape of a thorn, and he pressed it into her heart. And then throughout the whole journey, it was growing and growing, and when it was ready to bloom, then she would be loved in return. On the journey, she went through deserts and valleys and had to climb very steep mountains that were very difficult. There was a lot of pain, and at each thing that he asked her to do, she had to accept with joy what he was asking her to go through. And every time she embraced sorrow and suffering, which were her two companions, she was able to get through it. She accepted sorrow and suffering, and so that's key, that sorrow and suffering is part of life, and we have to just accept whatever God puts in our path, or whatever we're asked to go through. We have there to help us get through it. And every time she surrendered her will and did what he wanted, it was one more step toward the high places, basically, by continuing on the journey, still doing what he asked. So some of the things that she went through were very, very difficult, and I relate that to my life. Having waited to be married, I waited 10 years where I sought the Lord and tried to deepen my relationship with him. And when I got to the place where I fully gave up the desire to be married and said, okay, God, whatever you want, when I relinquished it to him and accepted his will in my life, I ended up getting married. And the same thing when I was going to have kids. We tried for 3 years and we couldn't have kids. So when I got to the point of relinquishing it and giving it up to God and saying, okay, God, if you want me to have kids, fine. If not, that's okay too. I trust you in whatever your will is. So there's two big things in my life that I already gave up and relinquished to him, and then he blessed me with them. So now, so Much Afraid, she gets to the end of the book, and she comes to a canyon that her and sorrow and suffering go down into, and there's an altar, a rock altar, and God had asked her to sacrifice that promise that he had given her of being loved in return, that if she would give up that promise of what she was waiting for. And she did, and she knew it was going to be hard to give it up, so she asked him, the priest that was there at the altar, to strap her down on the altar so that he could then yank that love out of her heart. So then he did. And then she fell into a deep sleep, and when she woke up, she was in the most beautiful place ever, with crystal clear water flowing out of the altar, with flowers everywhere. And when she bathed herself in the water, her feet were healed, her mouth was healed. She was beautiful and pure and holy. Everything was healed in her. And then when she met the shepherd again, he said, let's look at what's in your heart. He's like, well, she said, well, I sacrificed that love. It's not there anymore. And he said, you sacrificed the longing to be loved. You didn't sacrifice love in itself. Let's look and see what's there. And when she opened up her heart to him, it was full of these beautiful white flowers and the most wonderful aroma or perfume scent from these flowers that were in her heart. And he said that that's real love. That's my love that is now in your heart. So basically, she sacrificed the longing to be loved, and it was replaced by God's love. And this was a huge, huge revelation to me, because through the whole book, he was starting to say that she's sacrificing human love, and I'm like, well, I don't want to sacrifice my love for Dave or our love. It's like, you put us together as a married couple to love each other. But one of my biggest issues is the longing to be loved. And basically, by replacing the longing to be loved with God's love, I no longer need human love, because God's love fills the void completely. And if I don't need to be loved by Dave, then I can just love him with God's love without expecting anything in return from him. Just loving him just because. True unconditional love. Because I have God's love in me, and I don't need Dave to love me. Now, I want to share love with him. I want us to love each other, because God did create man and woman to be together. So, but now this love it's a beautiful, pure God love in me, ready to flow out to Dave. And if he doesn't love me in return, it's okay, because I don't need his love anymore. You know what I mean? It's just like, this is amazing that God has showed me his true love. And because of being filled with that, I can now love other people. And the other thing that I struggle with is caring so much about what other people think of me. And if I don't need their love, if I'm not worried I don't need to worry about what they think of me anymore. Because I'm fully loved by God. It's like, it just doesn't matter what anybody thinks anymore. I can just free to be myself. And I pray that this will also affect my judgmental and critical spirit that I have toward other people, that is something that is healed by these waters, by sacrificing this longing to be loved. It's like, now I can love other people fully with God's love flowing through me, with unconditional love to everybody in my life. And that I won't judge other people. They don't need my love. Just like, they need God's love, not my love. Although God can use me to show his love to them, but it's not Linda's love, it's God's love. And this is just such a huge thing for me, because I've struggled my whole life with longing to be loved. From not getting it from my dad. And I just wanted to be loved my whole life. And to have finally gotten to the point where I understand God's love for me is amazing, and how it changes everything. So I just wanted to share, and I'm glad that I thought to make a video to capture this moment of what God has shown me tonight through this book, Hind's Feet in High Places. Let me show you. By Hannah Hurnard. It's like from 20 years ago, and I read it when I was single. And it was all about giving up that longing to be loved, but I didn't receive it in the same way earlier. It was more like, just teaching me to receive God's love so that I'm satisfied. But it didn't sink into my heart, honestly, obviously. It did a little bit, because I did try to behave the way that I was supposed to, but I was like forcing myself. It wasn't really receiving God's love. It was more, I know I'm supposed to, and I'm trying to do the right thing, and I'm trying to let God fill all of me so that I'm satisfied in him. But it was like a behavior thing. It wasn't truly surrendering to him and truly letting him love me the way he wants to love me. So anyway, life is good. Today is June 6th, 2017. The first day of the rest of my life. Being loved by God wholeheartedly, and him filling the void in me completely. I know I'm human, and I know I'm probably going to lose perspective, but let me come back and watch this video to remind me that God loves me completely. He fills my whole heart, every nook and cranny, with his love, and therefore I don't need human love anymore. It's a nice thing to have. It's nice to know that people love you and care about you, but that's not what's filling me. God is what's filling me. So, amen. So, it was good to watch that again and to be reminded of it again. And I just want you guys to know that God can do that same thing for you. That if you seek Him and you really want Him in your life and you want to experience that love, just start talking to Him and He will start talking to you. And if you don't hear Him, just keep asking. It's like, God, what's the blockage? What is it that's standing in the way? And He might use the book if you're interested in reading it, but be open to just taking the journey, going on the journey. Instead of just reading a book, actually go on the journey with Much Afraid. But He may not use that book. He may use something else, because everybody has a different relationship with Him. And but just know that if you seek Him, the Word says, you will seek me and find me if you seek me with all your heart. And it might take time. It may take time to have the breakthrough that you're looking for, to just keep showing up. I read an article recently, and the lady said, you know, God did all the work, I just kept showing up. So just start talking to Him and He will start working in your life. Believe me, He loves you very, very much, and He wants to have a deep relationship with you. So just go to Him and start talking, and just let God take it from there and start working in you. Okay? And we'll talk more tomorrow about surrender and how that wrapped up together with being able to experience God's love. So good stuff coming. All right? Have a good day.